If you follow the WNBA with any kind of consistency, you know there are certain players who just bring a spark every time they're on the floor. For the Indiana Fever, Sophie Cunningham is one of those players. Tough, emotional, plays with edge, hits big shots, and is not afraid of the moment. So when a player like that goes down with a major knee injury, it doesn't just change one game, it shakes an entire season, and it changes the conversation about what comes next. Right now, Sophie is in the middle of that long, frustrating, quietly brutal part of the process that most fans never truly see, the rehab grind. She tore her MCL late in the 2025 WNBA season, had surgery, and since then, her entire world has basically revolved around one question: how do I get back to be myself on the court? The surprising part is that it wasn't even a wild, out-of-control play. It was a kind of routine defensive rotation that happens hundreds of times a season. The injury happened in the second quarter of a game against the Connecticut Sun. Cunningham slid along the baseline to help on defense, doing exactly what a disciplined guard is supposed to do. Sun guard Bria Hartley went up to make a pass and, on the way down, came down awkwardly into Sophie's right leg. There was no dirty intent, no big collision you could see coming from a mile away. Hartley's body just landed at the wrong angle, drove Sophie's knee inward, and her leg absorbed all that force in an instant. You didn't have to be a doctor to know it was serious. Cunningham immediately dropped to the floor in obvious pain. Trainers rushed over. Teammates looked away. Those are the moments that feel like the air leaves a building. She was helped off the court, and from there it was straight to imaging. The verdict was what everyone feared: a torn medial collateral ligament in that right knee. Season over, just like that. For someone with Sophie's style of play, an MCL tear is a big deal. Guards live on lateral movement, quick changes of direction, low stances on defense, and planting hard on drives. Your knee is involved in every single one of those actions. Surgery came quickly after the diagnosis, and from that point forward, everything changed from game planning and scouting reports to surgery, physical therapy schedules, and slow, methodical workouts. To her credit, Cunningham didn't disappear. If anything, she's been more visible through this process than a lot of players are. She has been sharing pieces of her rehab journey on social media. Clips of strength work, banded exercises, core workouts, and eventually some ball handling and light on-court movement. You see her doing the tedious stuff that never makes highlight reels. Single leg stability drills, controlled steps, light shuffles, all the boring but crucial things that build a foundation under a repaired knee. What's made it interesting, and honestly pretty revealing, is how her latest workout clip turned into a talking point. Recently, a video of her working out with NBA trainer Coach P started circulating online. Hoop Herald shared the clip on X, and it caught fire fast. The video itself wasn't anything flashy. It showed Cunningham doing a controlled ball handling warm-up. Focused, balanced, moving with intention, clearly still respecting the knee, but also clearly more mobile than she was just a few months ago. The caption from Hoop Herald was positive, pointing out how good she looked moving and handling the ball after such a serious injury. A lot of fans reacted the same way. People commented about how happy they were to see her back on the floor, how smooth her handle still looked, how she seemed comfortable getting low and changing direction again. For a player coming off ligament surgery, those little things matter. But because it's social media, not everyone looked at it through that lens. Some people jumped in criticizing the drill itself, saying it looked too basic for a professional player. There were comments along the lines of "this is high school level," or "why are we hyping this up?" As if the point of that video was to show off how complicated a workout can be rather than to show where she is in a long recovery timeline. Sophie saw all of it, and instead of ignoring it, she quote posted the video and answered in her own way. She basically said, in a half-joking, half-annoyed tone, that people needed to relax and let her warm up. You could feel the mix of humor and frustration in what she wrote. On the one hand, she was making fun of herself and the situation. On the other, there was a very real message. She's rehabbing a surgically repaired knee, not auditioning for a skills competition. That's the part a lot of people miss if they've never gone through or closely watched a long-term sports injury rehab. After a significant ligament injury, like an MCL tear, the timeline isn't measured in days or weeks. It's months, First, you deal with swelling, pain, and basic range of motion. Then you gradually rebuild strength in the muscles around the knee, quads, hamstrings, calves, hips. Only after that can you start reintroducing change of direction, stop and go movement, and finally, real basketball-specific work at full speed. Early on in that process, drills are supposed to look simple. They are controlled by design. That ball handling clip that some fans mocked, that's textbook early to mid-stage on court rehab work. The goal isn't to show she can hit 10 different combo moves. The goal is to get her central nervous system, her balance, and her confidence all working together again. She needs to prove to herself, step by step, that when she plants that right leg and slides or shifts weight, the knee will hold. That's why, for trainers and medical staff, seeing Cunningham out there doing exactly that is a win. Those are the building blocks. Before you ever get to hard cuts, live defenders, or scrimmages, you need thousands of reps of boring movements that teach the brain and body to trust each other again. It's not sexy to watch, but it's non-negotiable if you want to come back and actually stay back. The mental side of it is as big as the physical. It's one thing for a doctor to say, "You're cleared." It's another thing entirely for a player to drive into the lane, feel contact on that same leg, and not instinctively pull up or shy away. Guards, especially aggressive ones like Sophie, play on instinct. Rehab is all about rebuilding that instinct so it doesn't default to fear. When you factor in the demands of today's WNBA, the pace, the physicality, the spacing, you can understand why a veteran guard coming off an MCL repair might not be jumping straight into highlight-ready workouts in December or January. She has time, and frankly, she has to respect that timeline if she wants to protect both her career and her team's future. What adds another layer to all of this is the pressure of doing rehab in public. In years past, most of this work would have happened behind closed doors. A team would put out a brief update, maybe show a couple rehab photos, and that would be it. Now, every time a player posts a clip, it gets dissected in real time. 1 second of a ball-handling warm-up becomes content for praise, criticism, jokes, arguments. For Sophie, who has always had a strong personality and a willingness to speak up, it's not surprising she fired back a little. She's always leaned into the competitive, fiery side of the sport. You see it when she dives on the floor, when she gets into it with opponents, when she hypes up teammates. That same energy is clearly still there in rehab. There's something very on-brand about her clapping back and telling people, essentially, let me do my work. From the Indiana Fever's perspective, what really matters is not whether a drill impresses random people online. What matters is what the internal reports say. Is her strength returning evenly in both legs? Is there swelling after activity? How does she move laterally compared to pre-injury film? Is she getting emotionally comfortable trusting that right knee again? Those are the questions that determine whether a player is ready by opening night, not whether a clip looks like something out of a mixtape. If you look closely at that Hoop Hero video, you can actually see a lot of positives. Cunningham is low in her stance. Her dribble is tight and controlled. She's not favoring one side dramatically. The footwork is measured but not timid. You don't see her flinch or break rhythm when she plants on that right leg. For someone months removed from a torn MCL, that's exactly where you'd want them to be. Rehab specialists often talk about progressive overload, the idea of gradually increasing the demands on a recovering joint or muscle. What starts as basic handle drills and easy slides might later turn into sharp cuts off screens, pull-up jumpers out of step backs, and defensive sequences against coaches or practice players. Watching Sophie now is like seeing chapter 3 of a 10-chapter process. The people complaining she's not at chapter 10 yet are missing the entire point. Another piece of this that sometimes gets overlooked is how rehab affects a player's broader game. Yes, the focus is on the knee, but long layoffs also give athletes time to work on things they don't always have bandwidth for during the season. Shooting form tweaks, core strength, upper body strength, film study, decision-making, mental skills, all of that often gets sharpened when the body isn't ready for full speed play. We've seen plenty of players in both the WNBA and NBA come back from big injuries with new wrinkles in their game. A guard might come back with a more reliable jumper. A wing might add post moves. A point guard might improve pacing and pick and roll reads. For someone like Cunningham, who already brings toughness, shooting, and energy, there's a real chance this rehab stretch adds something subtle but important to her skill set. From a team-building standpoint, Indiana has to be thrilled just seeing her on the court again. Guards who can stretch the floor, defend, and bring emotion are invaluable in today's league. The Fever are not just trying to field a healthy roster. They're trying to build something sustainable around their core players. A fully healthy Sophie Cunningham plug back in next season gives them another versatile guard who knows the league, understands big moments, and can help stabilize rotations. What this whole mini controversy over a warm-up drill really highlights is a gap between how recovery looks and how people expect it to look. Fans want to see full-speed scrimmages, deep threes, and step-backs on day one. The reality is that the most important work often looks incredibly basic. It's the equivalent of a royal family dealing with legal documents, security planning, and scheduling behind the scenes. It's not glamorous, but it's what keeps the whole thing functioning. In the end, the best sign in all of this is simple. Sophie Cunningham is back on the floor, with a ball in her hands, moving on that surgically repaired knee. She's working with a respected trainer. She's following a structured program. She's got enough confidence to joke about the criticism and enough competitive fire to push back against it. That combination, discipline in rehab and edge in personality, is exactly what you want from a veteran guard coming back from a major injury. So when you see that clip floating around again, or the next one she posts, try to watch it through the right lens. This isn't about whether a drill looks hard enough for a pro. It's about a player who had her season cut short, building herself back up step by step, rep by rep, so that when the next WNBA season tips off, she's not just cleared, she's ready to actually be herself again. And if you've watched Sophie Cunningham play at full strength,